Okay.
It's
I
not
can do it.
me.
Just got to make sure we are good to go on the Facebook page because it takes a little, like one extra step to go live on there. Publishing tools. This is episode 4.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I'll do the quick intro, and then you can introduce Ashton Birdie, since you guys have met before, it sounds like.
Briefly, yeah. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
We're going live in 5 seconds. Hope you guys are ready. To millions and millions and millions.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, we good. All right, cool. All right, here we are at Degree 45 Podcast. I'm Cut with Cut Productions, here with Jeremy from Weekly Narrative, Daniel and Ashton Birdie. Welcome, everyone. A bunch of snowflake melters here. Jeremy, take it away and tell me a little bit about Ashton. And Ashton, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, we got Ashton Birdie this week. Huge, I would say, pretty big conservative YouTuber. She's also very active on Twitter, which is where I follow her. But we've actually been to a few of the same events in the Bay Area around California, going to, like, Antifa events and all that kind of fun stuff. I met her there, and I was interested in her work. I found her online, and now here we are. So I'll let her give a little explanation of what she does.
Yeah, so it's funny because I tell people I'm conservative and I'm definitely more of a right-leaning type of person. But it's really interesting just because I'm definitely witnessing a lot of the conservative sort of rebellion that's going on, just because it seems like we have completely hit this new counterculture where people who are conservative are now considered the black sheep of the world. And I've always considered myself to be a black sheep in this sort of punk rock sort of ideology. But it's funny how, I've never changed. I still hate the government. I still hate government control. But now it's more so where simple things like freedom of speech, owning the right to protect yourself, simple things like that are now considered fascist even. So I think it's really interesting what's going on with that. And it's kind of like where I surround myself with is really kind of going against really sort of any type of establishment or hierarchy. That's kind of like what I do. I'm definitely more so against a kind of a get off my lawn sort of thing going for me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I've been kind of anti-establishment. That's one of my main things too. And that's brought me on a strange path because especially during this last 2016 election, I wasn't super involved in politics, and maybe you've had a similar experience that you can touch on, but I was actually interested in Bernie Sanders for a long time because he was kind of the anti-establishment Democrat, and he was the one who was always talking about bring down the rich corporations, take them out of politics. I don't want to bring down rich corporations. I want to get them out of politics to some degree.
Yeah, so you're an anti-lobbying capitalist like me then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's... I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, after that, I found myself looking at Ron Paul, and then I went to somebody else. I can't remember who it was, Gary Johnson, and then it finally ended up, with Trump. And so it's like, I'm not like a one-issue person, but I look at what's available and make a dynamic decision based off of that.
It's interesting because Trump isn't even a conservative. He's not even a Republican. I think people don't realize that he's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He's just Trump. And I think we really need a president like that in office just because when you have someone so dedicated to one party or politician, you're basically joining a cult. And so I tell people all the time, I'm not a Republican. I'm a registered Republican. I definitely vote Republican more so than I do Democrat. I've never voted Democrat my entire life, so definitely Republican. But the point is that when you are following any sort of establishment group or any group at all blindly, you are following a cult. You are now a sheep, and you're not thinking for yourself. And I think one of the most important rights that we have in America that our founding fathers gave to us was not, of all the amazing rights and freedoms that we have in this country is individualism. I think individualism is the most important thing we can have. And so I'm seeing a lot of these people, as much as I love the quote unquote MAGA Knights, if you will, who are running around with their red hats screaming at, Antifa. Antifa definitely have a lot less respect for, just because I don't really think they fully understand, because they say they're anarchists, which I feel like I'm not anarchist, obviously, but I'm sort of in the same way where I hate the government as well. But they're also communists, and they don't seem to understand that communist anarchism is definitely an ideology that's like a utopian ideology. It can never, well, it's not an oxymoron because it is a thing, but it can never actually happen. It's not plausible whatsoever. I mean, the idea of anarcho-communism happening is not likely whatsoever. And so as much as I would like the idea that everyone works together in developing this perfect life, as much as I would love that, it's not plausible. And so if you really hate the establishment, the next best thing you can do is be an anarcho-capitalist, which of course is still kind of irky-jerky, and which is why I am a right-wing libertarian. I'm definitely more so less government. I still advocate for borders. I still advocate for no abortions. But
Big L or little L libertarian? Big L or little L? Like, do you want to get rid of driver's licenses and stuff, or do you think there is some purpose for the state?
I think there is some purpose for the state. Obviously, I support the cops to an extent. I do think there is some, but the idea of like, if let's say like the government were to come after me, I want to be able to protect myself. I want to be able to make sure my power is over them. Right.
So yeah, that's interesting. What do you think about the whole new fad of classical liberalism going around? You think that's related to
classical liberalism? Well, it's funny because classical liberalism was already a thing. It's the Democratic Party that's now gone completely crazy, right? The Democratic Party today, they really are, in a sense, trying to push this, idea that, communist anarchism can happen when it can't, and they're trying to use identity politics to keep themselves in power. They're no longer Democrats. They're no longer the classic liberals. And it's funny because I feel like classic liberals, libertarians, even a lot of ANCAP people, I think we're all kind of in the same little area, and I think that's why we get along so well. And I think the majority of people who do support Trump, the reason they tend to be ANCAP, they tend to be right-wing libertarian, they tend to be classic liberals. Because if you notice, the neocons, they didn't support Trump until way later. And then when he put his 5-year lobbying ban out, that's when they were like, oh, how dare you do this, da 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 da. And then when he almost didn't send in missiles to Syria, I think we need to stay out of the Middle East. But thank God I didn't kill anybody. I'm with you right there. I really against. We need to stay out of the Middle East. Like, he promised us this, and he went in anyway. But the thing is, then
I agree, Ashton.
You have these neocons who push basically the same agenda that the Democrats do, and so that's why I really think we need to stop following these like singular political parties. We all just need to think for our individualism and think about individual ideas, which is why I think so many classical liberals, so many ANCAPs, so many right-wing libertarians who never really had a voice. It was always about the two-party system, but with Trump, we finally have a voice. We can finally say, hey, I agree with this, I don't agree with this, but more so, a lot of what we want in the world is starting to be shown,
Right, yeah. Policy change. And I had this discussion with one of my friends last night, I believe it was, over dinner, talking about, the differences. She doesn't like President Donald Trump, which is fine. A lot of people don't. But I explained to her when I made the vote for President Trump, it was not about his personal behavior. It wasn't about any past videos on a bus or whatever the hell's out there about him. I voted him in for policy change, and he is showing me that he produces results, and that is why I like him as the president, and that's why I stand beside him in most scenarios. And like you said, like Syria, I will say boldly and loudly whenever I disagree with the president, but I'm not gonna stomp around with pink pussies on my head or any other sort of
Well, it's funny you mention that, just because everyone who was against Trump doing that, or was for Trump doing what he did in Syria, when I was critiquing him on the matter, I was having this huge like, oh no, we're gonna go into war. I was definitely afraid we're gonna go into World War III. I was terrified all over Twitter. I'm sure you might have seen me on Twitter saying freaking out over it. But I think we need to stay out of the Middle East. And people are saying, oh, you're so easily off the Trump train, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm not off the Trump train. I still support Donald Trump. But I'm allowed to say I don't like one thing he does. And so I think we really need to address the people who are blindly following Trump too. Granted, Trump is still way better than Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Obama, obviously. But we're allowed to critique our president. It is our job as the voter to critique something we don't like in a politician. If we just blindly follow one politician like, oh, he's so great, our Lord and Savior. No, he's not God. He's not Jesus. Stop doing that. It is your job as a citizen to say, you know, I really don't like this idea, or I think this is a different idea I had. That is your job as an American citizen, as a voter.
I remember you were at the Turning Point USA event with Dave Rubin, Candace Owens, and Charlie Kirk, and you asked Charlie Kirk, and I liked this. I liked that you asked him this. You asked him about that foreign policy question, because that is a weakness. You know, if he's going to start going into foreign countries, we kind of voted for him to be non-interventionist and going in there, but it seems like even Charlie Kirk, he didn't have an answer for that. If you listen back to that video,
he completely teetered away from my question.
Yeah.
I asked him, like, you know, obviously Trump already went into the Middle East. He didn't kill anybody, and I think he intentionally did that. But what if we were to continue going into the Middle East and doing this? And we technically are, because every time Iraqi soldiers do anything, they're actually just a proxy for us, which would happen through George Bush, which is why I'm not a fan of George Bush whatsoever. And it's because of, you know, what he did in the Middle East. Every time, you know, a lot of soldiers down there, the Iraqi soldiers are basically proxies for us. So essentially we are getting involved at this very moment, just no one's talking about it. But anyway, I asked Charlie Kirk, what would happen if we continued to get involved in the Middle East? Right. What would your stance be on it? And he completely teared away from the question. He said, you know, I think Trump made the right decision. He didn't say anything about my actual question, which was for the future. He said, I think Trump made the right decision. Yeah, well, sure, he made the right decision to go and not kill people. I'm sure he did that intentionally. But what about the fact that there is no actual proof of chemical weapons? And he said, well, you know, I think we need to trust the intelligence agencies. You mean the intelligence agencies that are letting Hillary get away with everything?
Right.
You see, like, this mindset of people
around here.
Exactly. It's like you see these people blindly follow politicians and parties, and they're not thinking for themselves. And I think it's so ironic that Charlie Kirk is buddy with Candace Owens, who is totally a free thinker. I think Candace Owens is a remarkable human being. The fact that she's with Kanye and he's praising her being a free thinker. And, you know, Charlie Kirk couldn't even answer with his own opinion. He couldn't answer with his own opinion. He's giving into this sheepish mindset. And, you know, he knows what he's doing. He's running a great company, but he does what he does for company reasons. He's not sharing his own opinions or original thought.
It's a perfect example of what we're talking about, and you can't just follow people blindly, because he represents someone doing that on the right. He follows Trump blindly, and it may be because he has a lot of money, or he's getting a lot of funding from conservative people. I don't know who funds Turning Point USA, but they must have a decent amount of money, you know, to be able to just hire people. I don't know if you saw his security detail. He had 2 like nice brand new white Tahoes that later got broken into, and Dave Rubin had his stuff stolen that night. But he hired Candace Owens. She's like the director of communications now. So they've got money. You know, he's probably got a little bit of motivation to keep on a particular message, you know, on a message to keep the...
So in a sense, he like the Democratic and GOP politicians, he's being paid to say and do certain things.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if he disagrees with them.
Right.
And that's a huge problem. Like, back to the lobbying, you know, our politicians right now, they're being lobbied to act and say certain things and do certain things for the corporations. They're not acting upon the rights of the people, what's good for the people. And instead, our corporations are benefiting. Instead, our politicians are getting paid for it. And that's why I think lobbying needs to be stopped, because these large corporations, capitalism is great. I'm a proud capitalist. The problem is capitalism is in the idea that benefits us. It helps blue-collar workers. It builds small business. It helps people have thriving lives. It helps people on the bottom, the bottom tier, the middle tier, and the top tier. But right now, with lobbying, we've allowed lobbying to happen, and capitalism truly does cater mostly to the top tier because of lobbying. It's not because capitalism is quote-unquote evil. It's because we've allowed it to become evil, and it's allowing our politicians to make choices in benefit of the corporations and not the people.
It's a good point. And that kind of touches on, somebody brought up a question in the YouTube chat. He says, referring to the foreign policy stuff and Trump launching missiles, he says, how do we even know Trump made a decision? I don't think even Trump can stop the military-industrial complex. He brings up a good point.
Well, that's a really good point, because it's someone made a joke to me when that actually happened. I remember seeing Alex Jones and Owen Schroyer. Because I was in San Diego when this all happened, and I was keeping up to date because
Alex Jones held it together really well after that.
Yeah, I'm great friends.
Sorry.
He was not. I was.
Yeah,
not,
he was real cool, calm, and collective.
I was in San Diego. I was breaking down at my phone, like, how can this happen? I legit thought World War III was going to happen. Thankfully, Trump didn't hurt anybody. Thankfully, let's all sort it out. But I remember watching and, like, texting everybody I knew at InfoWars. I was like, is Alex okay? Is Alex okay? Because I love everybody at InfoWars. They're great people. And I just remember watching Owen and Alex on my TV screen because I was having, it submitted because I was at a friend's house in San Diego. And we're watching Owen and Alex just breaking down crying. I'm feeling the same way. My friend makes a joke to me. I'm sorry, I'm going to get to the story. I don't know why I trailed off there, but my friend makes a joke to me. She says, what if Trump didn't even make the decision? I say, what do you mean? She's like, well, think about all the people who, and this is like, this is the person who's not into politics whatsoever. They'll say, well, if this is completely against what Trump promised the American people, is it possible the people, the people he works with are pushing him to do a certain thing? Or, the president just can't make every single decision. This is basic government.
He's got to fight the swamp. He's over there with his swamp boots, just trying to trudge around and, get out of it at least.
And the problem, this is the issue with people when they say the swamp, is that they don't realize the swamp isn't just Democrats. The swamp is also Republicans.
Oh, yeah. It's John McCain.
There's a reason we call him Lying Ted. There's a reason we hate George Bush. There is a reason why I don't like calling myself a Republican, even though I'm registered Republican. I don't like calling myself a Republican or part of the GOP for this reason. I definitely, I will admit, for a good short period of time, when Trump did win, I was like all GOP happy because I thought, maybe it would change, but it really didn't. It really didn't. It just stinks as much as it used to.
If you ask Ron Paul, not his retarded son Rand, but if you ask Ron Paul,
okay, I actually like Rand Paul. He's a wonderful person. But continue.
Ron Paul, if you ask him who the swamp is, he would say Donald Trump's part of the swamp. And if you watch Ron Paul right to this day, he would consider Donald Trump to. And I'm a Ron Paul fan, and I'm a Donald Trump fan. I'm a supporter. I do think they're very different. But I think when Ron Paul says we're going to audit the Federal Reserve, he means it. I don't think Donald Trump means it when he says it. Unless there's just another powerful source that's out there, like you said, that the military-industrial complex. What if they just went into Syria without the authorization of the president, which they don't have to do anyway? It's just through Congress at the end of the day.
Trump has admitted to saying that he used to be part of the whole lobbying system. If you watch Get Me Roger Stone, they will tell you like what Roger Stone used to do, what Donald Trump used to be a part of. And that's what Donald Trump saw because he was a part of it and then he wanted to change it. He even said that in the video, and this isn't like a video from recently. This is like a video back in like the 90s where he said, I'm part of this system and I want it to change. And you see this, if everybody watching, I want you guys to go to Netflix and watch Get Me Roger Stone because this is where they say it. Donald Trump had a wake-up moment somewhere in the early 2000s and late 1990s. And I think that's what really inspired him to go run for president because he saw what was happening within the lobbying system, within the elite system, within the swamp. And so, yeah, maybe he is a little bit part of the swamp with the connections and whatnot, but I think he sees what's going on and he wants to change that.
Nobody else is calling out the swamp aside from him, so you got to give him a little bit of credit.
Right, I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying there are people that who are true. If we're going to be libertarians, some of us.
I'm a Ron Paul fan myself.
Right.
Just because he's one of the only libertarians that can say, hey, maybe certain libertarian ideas are stupid. Like, I don't know, open borders.
Right.
And that's why I abandoned the Libertarian Party because Nick Sarwark and all those guys went nuts and started calling for open borders and stuff. So,
what's a LAPO?
I read something relating back to what we were just talking about somewhere in this conversation. We were discussing President Trump and how he might not have been the one to order the attacks. I read somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, but I was discussing this with my mom on Mother's Day. It was a nice little conversation we had about how this has been kind of a hands-off Congress, because President Trump has been proven to show results, and not only results, but improvements. So Congress kind of says, in the sense, and it's almost an opinion piece, it's like, we're going to keep our hands off if what he says or what he chooses, that works, then great. If it doesn't, we were hands off. We didn't have anything to do with it. And that's why you're kind of seeing these quick movements, and you're seeing this military action play out without congressional approval, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of, Congress doesn't want to have any say in it, is what I read from this opinion piece. What do y'all think about that? Anyone?
That's definitely.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to think about that right now, actually. That's actually really interesting.
It's, I mean, when there's so much precedent for presidents going in and taking action without congressional approval anyway, when was the last time we had congressional approval for a war we started, or like a conflict?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, is the intelligence agencies control everything.
Yeah, if you can get away with it,
every time, like, the Congress has done something, it has been the intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Look back at JFK. JFK is a giant FBI, CIA piece right there. Everything that happened during JFK, everything that went wrong was because of the CIA and FBI. The FBI and the CIA pressured him. Well, the intelligence agencies pressured JFK into all of many bad decisions, and Bay of Pigs was one of them. And I think what Trump got himself into with the Middle East is very similar to Bay of Pigs. I think we've put ourselves in position where we have allowed ourselves to get involved with this Iran, Syria, Israel issue. And yes, we may have not killed people the first time, well, second time technically, Trump put in missiles. But look what's happening now. Ever since Trump, didn't sign the Iran deal, there is now issues between Israel and Syria once again, because Israel's trying to get to Iran, and Israel's trying to get us involved with that because Israel wants us to be big brother for them. But we can't do that, because then we piss off Iran and Syria. And granted, I'm not fans of them either. If you're going to choose anybody in the Middle East to support, I support Israel, obviously. But the point is that if we were to disturb the Middle East anymore, it's going to cause more problems. And
I think if Israel wants to be a sovereign nation, though, I think we should just stay out of it. I think we should just let them all just fucking kill each other over there, and we should just stay out of it.
Israel's growing. Like, they're taking other people's land. And I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about that. Like, they're taking Syrian land. They're placing themselves, like, and that's their thing. Life is about conquering, right? But at the same time, I don't want to get involved with that. I don't want to be
We wouldn't be there, just like we are not in South Africa right now if there was no fucking oil and no money in the Middle East, I think, at the end of the day. So if there was no
it's all about money. This entire thing is so Israel can have money and the U.S. can have oil. Do you know, and like the UK as well, do you know how much money Theresa May's husband made off the stocks with the weapons, I can't think of the word for it right now. Weapons
Bitcoin?
Industry. Oh God.
Oh, okay.
Theresa May's husband, Theresa May, who's part of Parliament, he made a lot of money off the weapons industry when just by Trump shooting missiles into Syria, not killing anybody. He made a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say next time looks like we're gonna launch some missiles. I got to get some stock in Raytheon or something.
Like any time a politician says anything should happen, look at who they're sponsored by. Look at who they're married to. Look at who their spouse is sponsored by. Look at who their children are sponsored by. It's very, very dirty. Like Theresa May's husband, he wanted it to happen. The whole reason Theresa May wants to stay in the EU is because her husband will make more money off the weaponry system or the weapons industry. I don't know why I keep saying system.
Complex, the military-industrial complex.
I'm just like listening, taking it in. I love to learn, and you're like so insightful. I'm loving this.
Yeah, I'm a little autistic, so if I slur my words a little bit, I'm sorry.
That's great.
So I'm
a little drunk, so if I was slurring my words.
I'm a little curious, Ashton. So you recently did a video with InfoWars. So 2 questions packaged into that.
Well, that video was actually 2 months ago. It's actually 2-month-old news. I had to do some PR work for.
Right. That was, it was interesting because I remember seeing that when it first came out when you did that, and now it's kind of like recurring for some reason. But can you explain how?
Because I guess she decided to put the. Here's the thing. So that video was in fact taken down, but it's not because we looked stupid. The video was taken down because I wanted to use that footage for my channel. But I didn't know they were going to I thought they were just going to take out the single clip of me and her, right? And instead they took down the entire video. So I was like, okay. And so as I was editing the video, I saw some tweets come up and she was like harassing me like while I was editing the video. She actually like made fun of my autism like in one of the tweets, but she deleted the tweet. But
so that girl from the video was like making fun of you on Twitter?
Bitch.
Yeah, like out of nowhere, I got this tweet and said, "Hey, you autistic bitch, remember me?" And I was like, "Who the hell is this?" What? And I went onto her Twitter. I was like, "Oh, it's that shit. It's so funny. I'm editing a video about you right now." And it was in my health.
She's not so chill.
No, it was just so random. So I was like, "Okay, cool." And then people
should have been like, "Listen here,
me
you normal freak."
because she posted the video on her Twitter. And I was getting attacked for it the first time. I was like, cool, whatever. Like, I didn't think anything about it, you know? I was like, okay, cool, the left hates me, whatever. So I was editing the video. I put up my healthcare video because I wanted to make a point, you know, about it. And, like, as I'm editing the video, I'm just getting harassed on Twitter. And this is 2 months ago. So this is all happening, like, 2 months ago. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to use all of this in my video then. So I thought that was the end of it. 2 months later, she decides to repost the video for some reason. And then, and by the way, her version doesn't include the entire conversation. Like, she edited out like one of the, like, my main arguments. So she took down she put the video back up, and it went viral within like 2 days, I guess. And so I started getting even more harassed. I started getting death threats.
No, they spun it as InfoWars took it down because they got owned, right?
Yeah,
that's what
I've seen this short clip. By the way, all she does is like rolls her eyes and talks really slow and just like tries to brush everything off. She doesn't say anything factual, logical. She makes no sort of burn statement. So the fact that she's putting it up like she did, she's literally seeking 15 minutes of fame, and then 2 months later, 15 minutes more because she didn't get enough. I mean, that's and it's sad, but it's reality.
Well, it's the funny thing is like the left is like, this girl owned Ashton, Birdie, InfoWars reporter, and I'm like, literally all she says is I want free healthcare. And so within the video, and I want to go over the video to really fully understand how she owned me. Because all she did was keep a calm attitude, and I was being autistic as hell that day because I don't know if you guys understand autism. It's a spectrum. So, like, I have Asperger's and a sensory dissociative order. So when you're in a public place like Austin, Texas, and it's during South by Southwest and tons of people are around you and you've never done street reporting before, you're going to spurg out a little bit. There's a reason I filmed my closet.
Overload.
It's a whole
so when you're around all those people at those protests and shit like that, is that kind of a tough time for you to deal with?
It does get a little like intense for me. That's why like a lot of my videos are never live anymore. Well, also there's multiple reasons why. Like I've done live videos where people just started screaming like obscenities into my film. I didn't want that on my channel. But it's also because like the
left is so polite.
Yeah.
So
no, I would rather like get B-rolls and explain like my opinions later, just because it works better for me. Just because you can't think properly when you have a sensory overload. It's just it's a fact. And so when I was in Austin, Texas, I'm watching this video, and basically this is the entire video. I asked her why she supports Bernie Sanders. She said because he's a socialist. I asked her why socialism is good, and she said he has a lot of integrity and he wants to eat the rich, despite the fact that he is part of the 1%. He owns multiple houses, which cost
over 600,000, right?
Yeah, they're almost like $1 million.
I think Debbie Wasserman Schultz paid for those houses, though. I don't think Bernie had that kind of money.
You still shouldn't be preaching socialism and owning 3 different houses that you don't use all the time. If you preach capitalism, it's a completely different thing, because at least you're not a hypocrite.
But he's preaching because the government bought those houses for him.
And I want to make something very clear. She didn't say a welfare state. She didn't say democratic socialism, which, by the way, every single socialist dictator said democratic socialism before the country just went to shit. So basically, she just said socialism. So I thought she meant straight socialism. So I said Venezuela, because that's a straight socialist country. Yeah. Because what this girl was thinking was Denmark, Sweden, which are not socialist states. They are welfare states. So I said Venezuela. I said Venezuelans are eating rats. right? And that's like what people are making. Toilet paper. Yeah, people are making fun of me for that. That's a cited fact from multiple articles. Like National Review has talked about this. The Guardian has talked about this. New York Times has talked about this. This isn't like just like something that comes from a right-wing source. Like this is a fact. This is a fact that comes from both the left, right. This is this is something that was talked about for years on end, worldwide news. So I was stating this fact, and all she said was, "I just want free healthcare." Well, you can have free healthcare without being full-on socialist. And then she said Denmark in the video in the part that she didn't include. But Denmark's not a socialist country; it's a welfare state, and they're actually trying to kill off their welfare state because they're sick of the welfare state.
Ashton, was this the same video where you asked her, so if there's someone who's smoking cigarettes and is suffering consequences from that, you want me and yourself to pay for them? And she says flat out yes.
She flat out says yes. I asked her, do you want me and you to pay taxes towards someone else's bad decisions? She says yes.
Yes.
And you know what's so funny? I went through her Twitter. Well, I didn't go through her Twitter. Actually, Paul found this for me. He went through her Twitter, and he found she took like a screenshot of some woman talking about paying taxes for something. And she said, well, it doesn't matter because I don't have a job.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you ask her if she had a job?
Go figure.
So you're telling me that she would want me to pay for fat people's gym memberships?
Like retweeting somebody saying, well, it doesn't matter for me paying taxes because I don't have a job. Bingo.
Wow.
Right there. She wants socialism because she doesn't have a job and she wants free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go figure. I mean,
yeah.
Wasn't she like drinking Starbucks too?
Yeah, she was like drinking Starbucks on a smartphone.
She was.
It was epitome of irony.
Picture perfect liberal.
At South by Southwest, which the tickets cost $3,000 a day.
Jesus.
Or $1,000 a day. So it's a $3,000. Yeah. It's an expensive event. And and the hotels cost a lot of money too. I think the hotel I stayed in InfoWars that week was like $700 a night. That was a cheap hotel that week.
Just to be called a bitch by a lady holding Starbucks.
Yeah. So my question to follow up on that, how did you get involved with InfoWars? Because this was the first video you did for them, right?
So I'm not hired by InfoWars. I was just a guest reporter because I'm really good friends with a lot of the people who work there. Paul Joseph Watson's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, you just
Owen
hung out with
Schwer
him
and I have
London or whatever, didn't you?
Yeah. Owen Schwer and I have done a lot of videos together. He's interviewed me a lot. He's a good friend of mine as well.
Can you tell Owen Schwer if I was gay, I would date him?
Absolutely, I'll do that for you.
Thank you.
Paul Joseph Watson is honestly one of my best friends in the whole wide world. And I stayed with him when I was in England. And so that's kind of how I got involved in them, just because by them noticing my videos and ended up being friends with me.
Very cool. Yeah.
When you're around them, because when I see them, I think can they talk about stuff other than politics when you're hanging out? Can you talk about football or sports or video games?
Well, Owen used to be a sports journalist, so absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's funny too because I've been watching Alex Jones since I was 13 years old. I honestly believe Alex Jones is the reason I am who I am. And this is before people associate with him the quote unquote right, because Alex Jones is not a Republican either. He's
he calls himself
own
a libertarian,
individual person.
He?
I mean, yeah, he's his own person. Alex Jones is an individual. He has individual ideas. He's like me, where he just doesn't want the government controlling him. Obviously,
right.
When you believe in the things that he does, you don't want the government having control over you and watching over you. And so I think definitely he is the reason I am who I am, considering the fact that I was raised by socialists, by people who voted for Obama. And it's just really interesting for me now, especially, just because Alex Jones seems to be the only person I've looked up to as a child who I still look up to now. Because growing up, I would listen to punk rock music. My favorite band was Green Day, and I'm seeing people like Billy Joe Armstrong, talk about Antifa stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Well,
you told us you were a libertarian for years. What are you doing?
I'm older than you guys, so I have a different definition of punk rock, I guess.
Well, okay, well, Morrissey then, like the Smiths. Well, it's funny because the Smiths, Morrissey, he's actually very pro-Brexit. He's very conservative, libertarian sort of mindset. So it's really interesting there. But like the Sex Pistols or the same way as Morrissey. But for some reason, my generation of punk rock, they all just went so far left, they're not even who they used to be. It's like you preached against the establishment, but now you are part of the establishment. And, you know, I grew up watching these actors. I wanted to be an actress growing up. And now these same people in Hollywood who I looked up to are not telling me I'm not worthy of being a person. J.K. Rowling was my favorite author. She is the reason I write books to this day. And all over her Twitter feed is just telling people like me that we don't matter. The only person to this day that I have ever looked up to as a child, besides my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, is Alex Jones.
Wow. I haven't said his name this entire video and cut. I know you're going to be surprised, or not surprised when you hear it, but I know, Ashton, that you're a fan as well. Ben Shapiro, best person ever, and he's what brought me into politics. So
I'm actually not.
Ben Shapiro definitely has that.
I'm not as a fan of Ben Shapiro as I used to be. I'm not as big of a fan of Ben Shapiro as I used to be, and this is why.
Get a word in here.
Ben Shapiro, and this is. I'm not.
Female
I'm
privilege.
not that big of a fan.
Conservative heterosexual Christian doesn't mean I can't talk.
It's not even the privilege stuff. It's Ben Shapiro is such a neocon. And my thing is that I understand he's an Orthodox Jew. Mm-hmm. My issue with Ben Shapiro is that he is willing to put Israel before America, most likely.
Okay.
That's my
uncle
issue.
Doesn't like him because he funded some group dealing with Article 5. He took money from them, I believe. I can't remember what.
It's not even just that. It's the fact that he supports people like Ted Cruz and, you know, George Bush, and he's a total neocon, and he puts the part it's like.
I love Ben Shapiro.
He says facts before feelings, right? But the thing is, he's so pushed into the party, I can't trust him because I don't know if what he's telling me is actually what he believes, or it's just spewing BS for the party, you know? And so, like, I used to be a huge fan of him. And the reason I am a huge fan of him is because if you ever want to quote-unquote red pill somebody, you know, in basic things like abortion or free speech or, you know, the basic TPUSA, you know, PragerU, stuff like that. Ben Shapiro is great for that because he can kind of make people understand why people are on the right. But anything past that, it's like, I don't trust him.
All right, Kat, I want to hear your take on Ben Shapiro.
I forget what I was going to... Oh, I was going to say... so,
that's
Ashton,
me every episode.
I've watched Ben Shapiro with my wife a few times. Who works in healthcare and works in mental health. And I was going to ask you, because you said you have Asperger's and autism, or on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Is Ben Shapiro definitely in that category as well?
You know, I've actually wondered that. It's like
no, he's just an Ashkenazi Jew, man.
Autists. Here's the thing about autists. Is that there are times where I wonder if autism is like a gaydar thing, if you can like sense it.
Gaydar thing.
Because here's the thing about me is that some people don't believe.
Did you know Ben Shapiro's wife's a doctor?
Yes, he talks about it all the time.
Sure.
He mentions it like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I knew.
But the thing is, like, with autism, a lot of people don't believe that I have it. They think it's like anxiety or something, which I have too. But it's not. I'm definitely more autistic than I am anxious. The thing about autism is that it's on this weird spectrum where you really don't know if someone's autistic or just weird. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people aren't sure when they first watch my videos. So when I say I'm autistic, a lot of people are actually surprised. They're like, wow, I can't tell. It's like, well, yeah, it's because I have tons of jump cuts in my videos, and you can't see the parts where I'm going, blah, 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 you know? You can't see the parts where I'm spurging out because I'm literally in my closet right now, as I'm sure you've seen all the stuff on my floor just now.
You gotta come out of there?
Maybe. I don't know.
So Ben Shapiro may be autistic, is what you're saying. He might be.
He may be.
I still love him.
The way he talks, he may be autistic. He's probably not. It's also the fact that he's a lawyer, and a lot of lawyers talk really fast the way he does. That's the thing about Ben Shapiro is that you can tell, because this is what Ben Shapiro does. He's really smart in what he does, because lawyers have this thing when they talk really fast and blunt to make them sound smarter than they actually are. And I almost want someone to slow down a Ben Shapiro video. And I'm quite convinced he'll sound almost identical to Charlie Kirk.
Very similar.
I do think some of these guys that are part of kind of what we're doing, that I do want to see them actually get interviewed to see how smart they are. For example, Mark Dice, who I like a lot. I don't know how smart he actually is. He's got books out and everything like that. But he was on Alex Jones. He was on InfoWars interviewed. Alex Jones is a tough guy to get interviewed by because he kind of just talks over the person.
Yeah.
At least he did against Mark Dice, because I was really interested. The only reason I like InfoWars. I like Owen Schroyer on InfoWars. Me personally, I can listen to Alex Jones for 5 minutes, and then my ears start to hurt a little bit. Not because of what he's saying, because of how he sounds when he's saying it. It sounds like he just had 100 packs of cigarettes before he started doing his. And I'm from New York, and listening to the Texas accent, just all of it combined into one, just kind of kicks the shit out of my ears. But I wanted to hear what Mark Dice had to say, so I still don't know if guys like Mark Dice but you can see Ben Shapiro. He goes to these universities and gets asked questions by a bunch of fucking far left radicals at the universities, which he already knows what the questions are going to be. However, I really wanted to see him and Jordan Peterson go at it in a theological standpoint when he was on the Rubin Report, because they started to talk about Jesus, which I think Jordan Peterson is a Christian. And I think Ben Shapiro,
I don't know if
obviously,
he's a Christian, but I know he has a lot of understanding of the Bible. This is why I love Jordan Peterson, because I'm a Christian myself. And if Jordan Peterson were an atheist, and I think he actually may be an atheist, but Jordan Peterson is one of those people who doesn't look at the Bible in a religious sense. When I hear him talk about the Bible, it's almost like the Bible is the closest religious text that we should be using to have a fulfilling life. So,
it's a psychological
whereas the Torah
guide.
is literally before Christ showed up, and that is, if you ever talk to somebody who's a Christian hating person, like a liberal who's like, oh, the Christians are awful. They always quote the Old Testament, which isn't even the Bible. That's the Torah, which is the Jewish text.
Cut. I think to your point, though, I do think it's interesting. You're kind of seeing two different dimensions to the political sphere now. You're seeing these people who are getting really successful at making online videos, like YouTube videos. They may or may not have a lot of jump cuts. They have a lot of edits. It's somebody sitting in a studio. They're reading off a script, or they've done a lot of research. And they sound smart. You can sound smart, and that's a lot of where the deception comes from. And it's on the left, too.
My goal is to be the funny. My goal is to be the conservative who's funny and doesn't hold anything back. And if I'm not educated on something, I'll bring someone who's autistic on, like Ashton, who can actually explain it for me, because I can't, because I don't know. I can't sound as smart as Ben.
I might say Venezuelans are eating rats, so
you
never know.
You're brilliant. I'm just sitting here listening. I usually talk a lot during these videos. I haven't talked as much as I usually do, because I'm just listening to Ashton and all the facts. You're like listening to Ben Shapiro, just facts. I'm like, come on, tell more.
What we're doing, it's a little bit more narrow, or it's smaller, but what you don't see, I mean, I know the Young Turks does it, but very few of them actually go out to these events and actually talk to people. Like, they don't go to right-wing events, they don't go to pro-gun rallies, they don't go to Trump rallies and actually interview and talk to people. So there's a big difference between putting your ideas into action, actually having a discussion, talking to people, seeing if you can defend your ideas on a live platform and not just be on Facebook and have to research an answer or one particular study that you didn't know about, or make a video that's been researched for 2 days by a team of people. To sound smart, you get to actually be able to put these ideas into practice.
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of these people...
What is that fat piece of shit's name from the Young Turks, the host, that guy?
Cenk?
Yeah, he got his ass kicked by Ben Shapiro in a debate. He got destroyed.
He's.
You know what's funny though? Here's my issue with a lot of people who, here's my issue with a lot of people in the quote unquote movement, is that a lot of them. What happens is they become famous, they become known, they start getting paid for what they're doing, and then they stop doing everything that made them the way they are.
Yeah.
They stop editing their own videos. Instead, they use their money to hire an editor. Some people even stop doing their own research and hire research people. And I think you start to notice in a lot of people's videos where they start losing their character, because a lot of their character is shown through their own research, through their own editing. And when you see these people in their videos, it kind of loses the entire character of who they are. And it makes me really sad, because I think... What?
Sorry, no, it was a Facebook comment. Someone said Cenk's real name is Turkey McFatfuck. Oh my god.
I think people
I
do
like
change though, kind of like what you're saying, and I think that's
Ben Shapiro.
I think that's the same. Yeah, I know, right?
People
I think
are
that's the same
obsessed with
thing.
their
Though.
brand. They get obsessed
people
with
do
their
change.
brand.
They get obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They get
I
obsessed with
agree.
their brand, and they don't actually want to build something that is real. And I think people play too much into. Another thing is, I feel like a lot of YouTubers, not just YouTubers, but people play into their audience. Excuse you. A lot of people play into their audience. A lot of people play into their audience. For example, I've noticed certain YouTubers will completely change their opinions strictly based on who their viewer audience is and what their comments say, which I really don't like, because it's like the reason I started watching you is because I want to know your opinion, your ideas on something. Don't completely change everything that you are because the majority of your comments happen to be further right or further left than you are.
That's tough to do. I had so I'm a Trump supporter, libertarian, and an asshole, kind of all rolled into one. And I had Adam Kokesh on, who, because I'm a libertarian, I agreed with a lot of what he said, but he hates Trump, and I supported Trump. So I'm like not debating him, but it looks like I'm kind of just agreeing with everything he says, when at the same time he hates Trump, which people could look at that and be like, oh, this guy. If I was some big wig like an Alex Jones or something, people would say that I'm a sellout because I'm agreeing with someone who hates Trump. But I'm agreeing with his ideology, and he didn't touch on certain things that I agree with Trump on, and he kind of talked about libertarian. And to me, a libertarian, if you're going to live in a full libertarian society, I think it's a utopia that's not going to exist ever. But
100% agree. And the thing is, you cannot have one ideology take over, because that will lead to a dictatorship.
Yeah, there's no free thinking at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a free society if you have one takeover. But his idea of a libertarian society, the way he describes it, is almost like anarchy. If you want to have the states, each state can kind of elect their own little people, their own little government to do whatever they want. And they should have property borders, is what he says. They don't believe in national borders. They believe a true libertarian, so to speak, from his from the way he explains it, is it's property borders. And I couldn't agree with him on that. And he's like, he'll say, well, then you're not really a libertarian. And I was like, you can ask 10 libertarians what the definition is of what it is to be a libertarian. You'll probably get 10 different answers. But I think for the most part, we'll all kind of agree that do whatever the hell you want as long as it doesn't affect me is pretty much what a libertarian.
Pretty much. And that's why I always tell people, like, in order to be a true libertarian in that mindset, in my opinion, to have beliefs and ideas and freedoms that don't affect other people or myself, you have to have borders, because, as we all know, illegal immigration does in fact affect the citizens of a country in a negative way. Abortion, because last time I checked, women's body, her choice, whatever. But last time I checked, that child doesn't have a choice, but has a body. So last time I checked, isn't abortion affecting the rights of that child?
Yes.
So that's why I always say, yes, I'm a libertarian, but at the same time, I understand we have to put our country first, so we need borders. We need to put our future generations first, so no abortions.
Agreed.
What?
They all call me conservative. I'm gonna start calling myself libertarian.
Don't do it. Go with classical liberal.
No.
Call yourself classical
I'm
liberal.
a conservative libertarian.
Liberal.
I don't call myself libertarian just because Gary Johnson destroyed the whole name. I just
No,
call
he
myself
didn't.
independent.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Gary Johnson,
yes, he did.
It was
Yes,
Gary
he
Johnson.
did.
It was Gary
That's-
Johnson and
no,
Nick
it's-
Sarwark.
just
The
gonna
whole
stay
Libertarian
conservative.
Party destroyed itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind
What's
of like
Aleppo?
Aleppo.
So the thing
Well,
about
it's so
Gary
sad.
Johnson
I have to say so, you guys. I didn't even vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump because I was scared to vote for Trump. I voted for Gary Johnson, and I make fun of myself on a daily basis for voting for Gary Johnson. I will never, ever be happy that I voted for Gary Johnson. It was the
I have a
biggest
Gary
mistake in
Johnson
my
shirt.
life.
I wear a Gary Johnson
What
shirt out
exactly
sometimes
scared you
just to
about
make
voting
fun of
for
him.
Trump? Like, I'm just curious. Like,
So the reason I
what
was scared about voting for Trump, I actually like Trump. I remember sitting at my computer watching the states turn red thinking, oh my God, thank God Hillary's not president. I've hated Hillary Clinton since 8 years old. But the thing is, I knew if I voted for Trump in California.
pretty strong.
Yeah, I hated her. I hated her. God, I hated her.
When I was 8 years old, I didn't even know who the fuck Hillary Clinton was, or any of these guys.
Well,
I didn't even know who the
also
president
got,
was.
I also
Eight-year-old
got
cut.
sent, I also got sent to the principal's office when I was 11, for political reasons, actually. I was a tyrant as a kid. I don't know. I had no friends, and I was like, there's pictures of me reading the newspaper on 9/11, like the day after, when I was like 5 years old. God, I wish I had them here with me. Actually, they're pretty funny. But when I was, let me think. When I was watching my computer, I remember thinking, because the thing is, if I voted for Trump in California, I knew my vote would not count. I knew it would go blue anyway. And the thing is, I was terrified of Trump because here's the thing. And this is like kind of like the mini Alex Jones in me. But I was terrified that for some reason, if like, because you can view other people's voting records in the US, that if Hillary won and it had Trump under my name, not to mention I was slightly terrified. Like I was thinking, I actually, for a little bit, I was convinced that Trump was actually bought by the GOP. And that he would do some stupid stuff under the GOP. But I was mostly afraid that I would get, like, doxxed by someone for voting for Trump in California. Like, I got exiled by my entire family just for taking a picture with the Berkeley College Republican sign. So I think it's safe to say my fear was understandable, but I still regret not voting for Trump. I just wish I just did it and voted for Trump and said, screw it. My family sucks anyway.
Well, yeah. And Trump's awesome, so there you go.
Cut, did you want to add anything on that? I know you were trying to say something.
I don't remember where I was there for a second, actually.
So I want to take a 90-degree turn unless you do want to say something, Cut. You good?
No, don't break something up. I was going to actually imitate Trump there, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
You're going to go with the Trump impression? Okay, yeah. It's probably better that we didn't see that.
We're gonna make things bigly.
As content creators, as political content creators, what do we do with the future of, media spreading videos, spreading content online? YouTube seems to be sinking fast. Ashton, have you had any experiences with YouTube that may indicate some kind of bias or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I censored a bunch. I had like my Kanye video taken down like just a week ago actually while I was in London. I just remember sitting on my computer and I remember I got an email like that day and I remember screaming. I was on Paul's couch. I remember saying, Paul, it took down my video, and I lost so much traction from that video. It was such a good video too, and all it was about Kanye being an individual thinker. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. I have a Black Panther video on my channel. I'm surprised that hasn't been taken down with all the BLM people I pissed off.
I wish I was on Paul's couch.
Got taken down. My healthcare video got taken down actually a month ago, but got re-put up. So YouTube has definitely allowed a lot of people who have been targeting my channel to take me down, but they've always been put back up. I've always gotten like my strikes taken away.
Do you get demonetized on everything you do, or is most of your stuff monetized?
Oh yeah, I get demonetized all the time. I've made nearly no money on YouTube except for the sponsorships I've been very thankful to have.
Are you looking at alternatives?
I saw you made the video where you were talking about how YouTube was unsubscribing people from your page without their knowledge. And
yeah, that ended up being true. Because what happened was a bunch of people that are following me on YouTube, they messaged me on Twitter saying, "Hey, I resubscribed to your channel 2 days ago, and now it's saying I'm not subscribed to it." Like I would go down 30 and go back up 100 and lose like 200, and this happened like on a span for months, and this is still happening where people are like letting me know in my comment section on Twitter, in my YouTube comment section, they're messaging me on Twitter. I have my DMs open for anybody who wants to message me anything really. Depends on how interesting it is to me, honestly, because I get creepy messages from old men on a daily basis.
Me too.
Okay.
It's even creepier when it happens to me.
And that's how I found out. I just was like, wow, I'm actually getting a lot of crap from YouTube right now. And so there is a huge censorship issue with Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, obviously. And Ted Cruz is obviously doing something about this, as we've seen. But I don't think it's going to go far anytime soon. Yeah, he's calling out Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh.
Thank God.
Well, Prager tried to sue. I don't think that's going to go anywhere, though.
We have like 80 shares right now on this video on Facebook, and we have like 8 people viewing it. So there's something to, but it says 3,500 people. Here? It says 3,500 people reached, 80 shares, and 7 people are live watching it. So I think that's kind of
Diamond and Silk just testified before Congress or the House, whatever it was.
There's definitely that's the thing is that this exact same thing happened to Diamond and Silk. So to 8 people currently watching, share this video around right now even more, just because this is the kind of crap we're dealing with on a daily basis.
Do you are you looking at any alternatives? Are you going to like BitChute or anything like that? Do you have a backup plan for your stuff?
I've looked at DTube and BitChute, but the thing is, I don't want to leave yet. I don't want to jump ship yet, just because YouTube is what offers me that platform that I do need. Same with Twitter, same with Facebook. And the thing is, I don't want to jump ship just yet, just because my job isn't to pander to one small group of people. My job is to hopefully get in the minds of people who say I have worms in my brain. If I can't get in the minds of those people, I'll get in the minds of someone else. So that's kind of my job at the point, and YouTube has the people I'm trying to get a hold of.
Yeah. It's still the platform to reach the most people, unfortunately. But, I think back to the early days of YouTube, I can see similarities between that and these new content platforms that are coming out like BitChute and stuff like that, it's doesn't really work very well. I've tried uploading videos to these before, and they won't even upload. Like, I get errors when I try to upload videos. When was the last time you got that on YouTube? You know what I mean? It's not established, but it's possible that, I'm just waiting for some capitalist to come over, take over, the YouTube platform, make another streaming service, and get some advertisers.
It's not going to happen. I think when I told you about that, kind of like a monopoly.
Remember when I told you about that comment that I saw where there was a liberal arguing with a conservative, and she basically said, "Get your own social media platform. Facebook is ours." It's like conservatives have no voice, and even when you do, they don't give a shit, really, unless you're a conservative.
Well, the thing is, if Facebook and Twitter, and this is actually the law, like this is actually, if it's a public forum, yes, it's a private company, but it's created a public forum. Therefore, they have to cater to all freedom of speech and public ideas. For example, the shopping mall, there was a legal issue about this. I'm not really sure. I'm sure you can look it up. A shopping mall where people were handing out flyers for a political, something political, and the owner of the shopping mall said, you can't do that here, because he was against what they were passing out. But the problem is, even though it was privately owned, it was still a public space. It was still, it was made for the people to come in and publicly use. And so because it's a public forum, it should be allowed for people of all different types of ideas. And yes, I do advocate for free speech for everyone, including the bastards that say stuff I can't stand. Because the only way you're going to show the world a moron is through freedom of speech. The only way I'm going to be able to debate somebody is through freedom of speech.
I think it's an interesting.
What's funny about that, though? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't actually think that if YouTube decided to, just because it's so big, it doesn't necessarily force them to make decisions, based on how they run their business, based on the people that are using it. So I'm actually not on board fully with the Prager University lawsuit against YouTube saying that it needs to be, we need to force them to not demonetize our stuff or not take down our videos. I still see it as a private company that should be able to make its decisions.
I don't think YouTube is even going to actually take it that far. I think they're going to stop soon. Because here's the thing. Can you imagine if Alex Jones was actually taken down from YouTube? Do you know how much traction YouTube would lose? Imagine if PewDiePie had his channel taken down.
PewDiePie.
Anarchy would assume.
They're gonna kill their business. They're gonna kill their business if they keep doing that.
These crazy people who say crazy things are the people. No one cares about the beauty gurus anymore. No one cares about these DIY freaks. You know what's left when you get when there's cat videos.
Life hacks and cat videos. Life hacks,
nobody cares about the people. Nobody cares about the liberal channels. Nobody cares about the liberal channels. I'm sorry, no one does.
Well, there really aren't many.
Nobody
liberal
does.
Channels.
There's
the Young
Turks.
Not about liberal politics.
They're very interesting.
It's like the people who are like lifestyle videos and stuff like that. They tend to be liberal or Bernie or Hillary supporters.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe get about 500,000 followers. But no one actually watches them and is interested in them. They're just subscribed to them. The thing about these channels like Alex Jones and PewDiePie and Paul Joseph Watson, people actually listen to them because even if they disagree with them, they're still the most interesting channels. Yeah. And that is what's giving YouTube an incentive. So if they were to take down Paul Joseph Watson or InfoWars or PewDiePie or anyone else, The right is what's catering to the left and the right on YouTube. That is YouTube's audience. The audience loves and is entertained by these crazy people they call fascist.
I'll tell you whose channel has grown quite a bit is Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels
has a YouTube channel?
I'm thinking of a different website. Never mind.
Oh, God.
I just wanted to bring Stormy into the conversation.
Can I be honest, though?
As much as
she's not attractive. Like, why are we still catering to her? Like,
there's a storm coming.
Oh my God.
It's all they've got on Trump right now, so they've got to milk it for.
That's the thing is, like, she like proudly announced that she was going back into porn, and people were like applauding her, and I'm like, hold up, she's like 50. She's 50, right?
There's a category for that. We talked about this last week.
There's an audience for everything.
We talked about this last week, but I mean,
isn't she like 50?
Yeah, but she went on Saturday Night Live and made like a joke, a skit out of this.
People watch people eat Tide Pods. If people didn't watch people eat Tide Pods, you know, there's so many things that are so popular on the internet. It's unbelievable. I understand Alex Jones has a following and all. And I understand Paul Joseph Watson has a huge following. But there is a video of the Tide Pod Challenge that has 52 million views. To watch some asshole eat a fucking Tide Pod. And it's crazy. It's kind of
I know someone who ate a Tide Pod, personally.
But who's going to want to watch Stormy Daniels porn on YouTube?
Michael Cohen.
Donald Trump.
When I think of what YouTube originally was Tide Pods, though.
Anymore.
No, yeah, he's. But I mean, the left. It's funny that you say that. The left is so stuck on. You say this word anymore. They are stuck on the past. They don't have current.
This all happened 10
issues
years
with
ago.
Trump. They have very, very, very distant past issues with Trump. The bus, Stormy Daniels. They're bringing up private matters to try to wreck his reputation as president.
Here's the thing. Even if it's past, my issue isn't that it's past issues. It's past issues. And here's the thing. Even if Donald Trump was having sex with Stormy Daniels now, I wouldn't care. We elected him to be president, not a pastor.
Jared Kushner. I really don't care. All I care about.
Melania's problem. Melania's. That's it. Not mine. I don't give a damn. He's changing what I wanted him to change. He's enforcing border control. He's boosting our economy. Unemployment's at an all-time low or whatever, second to highest all-time low or whatever, record low. He's doing great things. I don't care who he's screwing, to be honest with you.
He could be. Here's the thing. Here's can I be honest? I really don't think Melania Trump married Donald Trump for his charming good looks, if you know what I mean. There's a chance that there's an open relationship going on. Like, I don't think she really cares. I think,
I will say that the whole thing on SNL, I watched it after we talked about it last week, Jeremy, because I didn't even know what where she'd said it, but I'd read CNN's headline and just died when they called her porn star. Anyways, I watched it, and whoever played Melania, that little skit, even though it's like, we can think it's true or not, I don't know if y'all saw where she's like acting like, oh, what if I wanted to, go against my husband in this? It's really funny, but even if you don't agree with it, it's really funny. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, see, that's the other thing. We have the ability to have a sense of humor, where the left, they really don't. The only thing they find funny now is making fun of Trump is somehow humor.
So far, I have been in this video alone an Islamophobe, a homophobe, a misogynist, racist.
Well, it's funny because it's funny you mention the comedy stuff because I've noticed there's people on the right too. If you make fun of Trump, if I make fun of Trump on like my Facebook feed after adding all of my friends made it like protests and stuff.
There's some snowflakes on the right.
They would that's the thing is there's snowflakes on the right too, and I think we need to address them as well.
Snowflakes.
But there's a difference though. The snowflakes on the right may talk shit back to you on Facebook, and they might say you're a bitch for saying that. But I'll tell you one thing they won't do. They're not going to take a piece of cardboard, write some bullshit fucking quote on it, get about 1 million people together, and go block the streets and put a barricade across the streets.
Pink pussies
that
on
bitch
their head.
said that on Facebook. They're not, and then wear pink hats on their head.
That they knitted for like hours before the event.
Hey, Ashton, it's a spectrum. Snowflake is a spectrum. So far left.
Here's the thing. Snowflake's a spectrum. Autism is a spectrum. Gender is not a spectrum.
Oh, by the way,
that's a bumper sticker right there.
Happy 58 Gender Mother's Day.
Oh my god.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that have penises.
Happy women who gave up their independence this, spewed monsters day. Seriously.
Right. Well.
God, did you see the video that came out of SNL today where it's Amy Schumer and it's called The Day That You Were Born. And it's I'm if you ever want to terrify another girl from having children, leave it to Amy Schumer and SNL to do it.
On screen. That'll scare me away.
Amy Schumer's Chuck Schumer's niece. You guys know that, right?
Wait, really?
Yeah, that's Chuck Schumer's niece.
That explains a lot.
Really?
You gotta Google it. It's on the internet. It's gotta be true.
I don't want to Google Amy Schumer. I don't want that in my history.
Don't put her on.
That's so fun about Amy Schumer is that even liberals hate her. Even liberals can't stand her comedy.
Not dislike her. She went through this 15-minute of fame where they all liked her disgusting personality. And when I say disgusting, I don't mean rude or I just mean just disgusting. She's just gross.
That's
and
funny.
then
It's my favorite comedian.
Oh, this woman is disgusting. Ew.
All she does is talk about her vagina.
Yeah.
And then say, I'm fat and I drink too much.
Well, there you go.
Wow, your entire comedic career is about talk about how much you're trash. Great job.
So we've got the nasty porn star, and then we've got nasty Amy Schumer. They've got great
nasty drunk.
Hold on. I got one for you. Everyone used to laugh when Amy Schumer was a kid, telling everyone that she was going to grow up and be a famous comedian.
I've seen this.
No one is laughing.
Is laughing now.
No one's laughing now.
I think that's a good note to end it on right there with a little Amy Schumer joke. Ashton, we really appreciate you coming on. We hope to see some more of you. Good luck with all of your YouTube adventures. Say hi to Paul Joseph Watson and Owen Schroyer for us. I love Owen Schroyer. I know Cut does too. He's part of the inspiration.
If Ashton, if you could get Owen Schroyer to come on to this show,
oh my God,
I will do fucking cartwheels down the next left fucking protest.
I'm still waiting on Ben. If somebody doesn't get Ben Shapiro on the show,
Ben Shapiro's never coming on this show, and I don't think he should.
He's never doing any shows.
2 sentences that broke my heart so quickly.
He's only doing
I'm sorry, but Ben Shapiro's too full of himself to go on anyone's show.
It's true. He doesn't do any shows.
I'll go to the Daily Wire.
Ashton, let everyone know where we can find your work and where we can follow you and watch your videos and all that stuff, and then we'll sign off.
Okay, my name is Ashton. I am from Ashton Birdie, ASHTONBIRDIE, and I have a YouTube channel, and you can also find me on Twitter.
What's your handle?
It was so great having you.
Oh, Ashton Birdie, ASHTONBIRDIE.
Bingo. There you go. Check her out, guys. And we'll see you next week here at 7:45 p.m. PST for the Degree 45 podcast. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and a good week, everybody.